Hello, this is Ms. DB. In this video, I am going to go over some of the problems from the Solve Systems of Equations with Substitution, Part 1. So in this assignment, you are going to be looking at another way to solve a system. In the last assignment, we solved with graphing. So we learned that when you graph two equations, the point at which those two lines intersect is the solution to the system of equations. Now we're going to solve problems like that, but we're going to use algebra. And the first way that we're going to do that is with this solving with substitution. So there's this sequence chain that will help us keep straight all the steps we need to do. And in this worksheet, step 1 is already going to be done for us. So step 1 is to isolate one variable in one equation. So that one of them is like y equals or one of them is x equals. On this worksheet, that part will already be done, but we'll have to add that step back in for the next assignment. Then what we do is we substitute that expression for that variable into the other equation, and then we solve that equation for the variable that's there. There will only be one variable at that point. Then you take that answer and you substitute it back into either original equation, and you find the other variable, and then you write that as your solution x comma y as an ordered pair. And the last step is to check by the same way that we did in the last assignment, by taking the value of x and the value of y and plugging them into both equations and making sure that you get a true equation. Let's look at an example. So here we have y equals x plus 2 and 3x plus y equals 10. So our first step is to solve one of these equations for a variable, but that's already done. We already have y equals x plus 2. So we're going to start with that. So y is equal to x plus 2. That means that y is equal to x plus 2. So every time we see a y in the second equation, we can replace it with x plus 2. So we write the second equation down, 3x plus y equals 10. I just got that right from here. Just write it down. Then take the y and replace it with x plus 2. Put that in parentheses to make it a little bit easier for you to do that. So now we have 3x plus x plus 2 equals 10. Don't forget to write the equals 10 down. Now we just have an equation to solve. 3x plus x plus 2 equals 10. We don't really need those parentheses anymore. We can combine our like terms. 3x plus 1x is equal to 4x. And then we had a plus 2. So now we have 4x plus 2 equals 10. Subtract 2 from both sides. That gives you 4x equals 8. Divide both sides by 4, and we get x equals 2. Now that's only part of our answer. We're not done. We have to take what that answer is, x equals 2, and plug it back into either of our original equations. So look back at your original equations, which are up here again, and decide which one would be easier to work with. Well, I think definitely the first one would be easier to work with. I need to know what y is, and now I know what x is, so we write down the first equation, then we replace x with 2, because that's what we got for x equals 2 right there, and then we just solve for y equals 2 plus 2, y equals 4. So this is our solution. We write it as an ordered pair. The x goes first, comma, then the y, and then parentheses around them, both. And then we check by plugging x equals 2 and y equals 4 back into both of the original equations and making sure you get a true statement. And that's how we'll do all of these problems. So the first couple problems have the steps written out for us. The steps are the ones from right here. Step 1, isolate the variable. Step 2, step 3, all of these steps. So we're going to follow those steps. In fact, to make it a little bit easier to follow, I'm going to copy this, if I can, this image, and put it down next to the problems. So 1 and 2 already have those steps written out for me, but these problems don't have those steps there. So I'm going to give myself a little more space and put this right there. And now we'll do number 3 together following these steps. So step 1 says to isolate one variable in one equation. Well, we already have that y is equal to x plus 1. So I don't need to do that step. Y equals x plus 1. That step is done. That's what y is equal to x plus 1. Step 2, substitute that expression, that y equals x plus 1, for the variable in the other equation. So the other equation is 4x plus y equals 6. So 4x plus y, but y is x plus 1, equals 6. Now I'm going to do step 3, solve for the variable remaining in that equation, which is x. So I have 4x plus 1x plus 1 equals 6. 4x plus 1x is 5x. So I have 5x plus 1 equals 6. And I keep solving this until I find out what x is equal to. 6 minus 1 is 5, divided by 5, x equals 1. Now I have to do step 4. Substitute the value for that variable, x equals 1, into one of your original equations. So we go back to our original equations. Here they are. Pick the one that looks easier. Oh, the top one looks easier to me. And plug x into that equation where you see an x. So now y is equal to x equals 1 plus 1, and we get our value of y. Then we write it. Our next step is to write that as an ordered pair. X is 1, y is 2. And then we're going to check our work. So to check our work, I'm going to go back to the original equations. So the first one is y equals x plus 1. And I'm going to put y in for y, that's 2. And I'm going to put 1 in for x, and I see if that's true. Well, that's true. 2 does equal 2. Then I check it in the other one. 4x plus y equals 6. So 4 times x plus y, does that equal 6? So 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 does equal 6. 6 equals 6, so it works in both of them. So this indeed is my solution. Now if that hadn't worked, then I would stop and look back and find a mistake that I must have made, because your answer has to work in both of the equations when you're done. All right, let's see if we can find one that's a little bit trickier, although none of these are too tricky. You might think that number 7 looks different, but number 7 is actually easier than these problems. In number 7, we know that y is equal to -3, so you can just go ahead and put that value right in there, and you'll be able to find what x is. You won't have to solve for y because we already know that y is equal to -3. So that one's going to be a little bit easier. Oh, number 8. In this one, we don't have, well, we could use it the way it is because the second equation is y equals -3x plus 4. The hint is that we could simplify the top equation. -3 minus 3y equals 6. And if we simplify this, we could actually solve this and find out what y is equal to. So you can do that if you want, and that'll give you one of the values right away. Let's look at number 9. In number 9, they're both y equals. How do we pick which one to use for step 2? Step 2 says that we need y or x equal to the other stuff. It doesn't matter in this one. Let's use the second one. Let's use y equals x plus 8. So that means we go back to the first equation and we replace y with what y is equal to, which is x plus 8. And then on the other side we have 3x plus 16. Then we just need to solve this equation for x. So this is the same as 1x. I can subtract 1x from both sides. That would leave me with 8 equals 3x minus 1x is 2x plus 16. And then I'm solving for x, so I should subtract 16 from both sides. That gives me -8 equals 2x. Divide by 2, and I get that x is equal to -4. But remember, that's just what x is equal to. We still have to find out what y is. So to find y, we go back to our original equations, pick the one that looks the easiest, which is probably the second one, and plug the value of x that we just found was -4 into that equation, and then solve for y. And -4 plus 8 is 4. So we get our ordered pair will be -4, 4, and then you can check that. You can also check these by graphing and seeing if both equations would intersect at the point -4, 4. That would be another way to check. So there's only 10 questions. Some of them are pretty easy because one value is already given to you, and some of them you have to do all the steps like I just did in this one. And we'll do even more substitution in the next assignment. So let me know if you have any questions, and have a wonderful day.